Chapter 8. Now, just as in the aspect of Keter, there is a unification of all the particulars to the general principle, reaching literally all the way to the aspect of the simple desire, as it is in the essential self of the infinite light, in the same way, a person may contemplate the aspect of the Chokhmah of each world from beginning to end. This then is the meaning of what is written, Bereshit bara, in the beginning God created, etc. Bereshit is translated by Targum Yerushalmi as B'chokhmata, with wisdom. Onkelos translated it as B'kadmin, primordially. This is the aspect of Keter, which is called Kadmon, primordial, since it is the aspect of the essence as it precedes Chokhmah. This is because wisdom is found from nothing, but it itself is not an actual nothing, which is not the case in regard to desire. However, just as desire is brought about from the essential self by means of tzimtzum until it finally becomes invested in action, thus fulfilling the above-mentioned verse, whatever Hashem desires he did, so is it with the aspect of Chokhmah. In other words, Chokhmah too is brought about by means of tzimtzum from the essential self. The essential Chokhmah is what is called the primal Chokhmah or the simple Chokhmah, as it exists within Hashem's simple unity. From there, it is drawn down into each particular world of Atzilut, Bria, Yitzirah, and Asiyah, until it reaches the aspect of Chokhmah of Malchut, of the world of Asiyah. About this last level it states, in wisdom you have made them all. For just as it states Bereshit, that he created with wisdom, in the same way he likewise formed and actualized with wisdom. This is similar to how it is that the desire to create, form, and actualize are all rooted in a single primary desire. However, it chained down from the world of creation to the world of formation, and from the world of formation to the world of actualization, with a lowering of levels from cause to effect. For example, from Malchut of Keter, of the world of Bria, there came Keter of the world of Yitzirah. Likewise, he created, formed, and actualized everything with a single wisdom. However, here too, in regard to Chokhmah, it chained down from Bria to Yitzirah, etc. In other words, from the aspect of Malchut of Chokhmah of Bria, influence is drawn down to Chokhmah of Malchut of Yitzirah. Likewise, in this manner, influence chains down from Yitzirah to Asiyah, until it reaches the aspect of Chokhmah of Malchut of Asiyah, about which it states, in wisdom you have made them all. Similarly it states, Hashem by wisdom founded the earth, and other such verses. More particularly, the chaining down is that Keter of Yitzirah comes from the aspect of Malchut of Bria, and Chokhmah of Yitzirah comes from Malchut of Keter of Yitzirah. Nevertheless, generally, all aspects of cause and effect from one world to the next are drawn one from the other without being diminished by the multitude of intermediaries which are between them. For example, it states, and Hashem gave Shlomo wisdom. Now, Shlomo was in the world of actualization, Asiyah. This influence was drawn down from Chokhmah as it exists in the essential self of the infinite light, or Ein Sof, to Chokhmah of Adam Kadmon. From Chokhmah of Adam Kadmon, it was drawn down to the concealed Chokhmah of Atik Yomin and Arech Pin. From there, it descended to become the light of Abba, of Atzilut. From there it descended until it reached the aspect of Chokhmah of Malchut of Atzilut. From there it descended further to Chokhmah of Malchut of Bria. In this manner, it descended from Bria to Yitzirah, and from Yitzirah to Asiyah, until from Chokhmah of Malchut of Asiyah, this light and influence of godly wisdom entered the soul of Shlomo. This was likewise the case in the chamber of the Holy of Holies in the temple. There radiated from Keter and Chokhmah of the essential self of the infinite light, until it reached the aspect of Keter and Chokhmah of the chamber of the Holy of Holies in the world of Asiyah, actualization. This is to say that the spiritual light of Keter and Chokhmah of Asiyah rested upon the physical tablets and the holy ark, which stood in the chamber of the Holy of Holies in the physical temple below. Similarly, in our daily prayers we request, you grace man with knowledge, and grace us from you specifically. This will suffice for those of understanding. By way of example, this may be understood from human beings below. For instance, a person's essential Hayuli wisdom includes within itself all that spreads forth and branches out of the light of his wisdom, even completely outside of his essential self. that is, even to the point of intellect that is invested in a physical act which is separate from his essential self. For him there is no difference between the spreading of his essential insight, chokhmah, within the essence of his intellect, in which he conceptualizes in a way of intellectual contemplation, and the spreading forth of the intellect into a physical act which is separate and apart from his essential self. It is all considered to be a single insight, except that this level is more spiritual and essential to him, while in action the insight becomes invested into a separate thing. This is so much so that in relation to the aspect of his actual essential self, it is but a single wisdom, except that it spreads forth from his intellectual contemplation into his emotions and thoughts, until ultimately he actually puts this insight into action. An example of this is when someone has an innovative insight in business matters, etc. Similarly, this may be understood in regard to this speech of Hashem, as in the verse, "And God said, Let there be light," which then came into action, as in the verse, "And there was light." Of course, this originated from the aspect of his essential wisdom, as it is in the essential self of the emanator. This is to say that he emanated the light, and afterwards he created, formed, and made. This is likewise the case in regard to all the specifics of the coming into being of the emanated, created, formed, and actualized from the essential self of Ein Sof, the infinite. All the particulars of these worlds are unified and bound with the essential self of the infinite light, Atzmut or Ein Sof, which is vested in Atzilut, Bria, Yetzira, Asiyah. Moreover, from the perspective of his essential self, there is absolutely no difference between the first and the last. This being the case, the statement, "I am first and I am last," likewise applies to the aspect of Chokhmah at the beginning of the emanation, Atzilut, until Chokhmah at the end of the actualization, Asiyah. Furthermore, in this way, the aspect of the general unification of the emotions, thought, speech, and action of each of the four worlds of Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah may also be understood in a manner of particulars. This is to say that the emotions of Atzilut become invested within the emotions of Bria, and the emotions of Bria become invested within the emotions of Yetzirah. The emotions of Yetzirah then become invested within the emotions of Asiyah, so that ultimately the 6 directions of Asiyah are bound up with the beginning of everything that is, with his essential emotions which precede the world of Atzilut. About these emotions it states, "The king who is exalted and alone, who is exalted above the days of the world." This refers to the aspect of the 7 lower Sephirot of Atik Yomin, which receive from the 7 lower Sephirot of Adam Kadmon, which receive from the emotions of the infinite light himself, which are concealed within his essential self, literally. An example of the above is the aspect of chesed, kindness, of the infinite light. About this kindness it states, Hashem's kindnesses have not ceased, since it literally is in an aspect of limitlessness. Regarding this kindness we say, "Let your kindness be upon us," literally. This is to say that it should radiate within the kindness of the diminished emotions of Malchut of Asiyah, which radiates in this world. Likewise, from the aspect of his essential thought, influence is drawn down until it reaches the aspect of the thoughts of Malchut of Asiyah, in that he thinks to do it in actuality. The same principle applies to speech and action, because just as everything that Hashem desires is his essential desire, he does, so too everything that Hashem desires to think, he thinks, etc. The only difference between this and the desire as it exists in his essential self is that it descends and is drawn into the order of the chaining down of the worlds, from cause to effect, until his desire, intellect, and thought is to actually do. However, the entire chaining down process of the desire, intellect, emotions, thought, and action are all considered to literally be one thing relative to the aspect of his actual essential self. This is understood from all the above and will suffice for those of understanding. Now, after contemplating all this, a person should conceptualize and contemplate who created these physically. How is it that even the last particular is not separate from the first general source? He should contemplate this in regard to each particular of creation, such as the creation of the heavens and the earth, or all the particulars in the categories of inanimate, vegetative, animal, and speaking beings. He should contemplate how their spiritual source in Malchut of Asiyah is bound up and connected to the highest heights like a chain. This is so, just as the aspects of Keter and Chokhmah of Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah and Asiyah, are unified with their source, as stated, in the beginning he created, which was translated as primordially Keter and with wisdom Chokhmah. So too regarding the particulars that branch out from them, these being the emotions, thoughts, speech, and actions of each world. Note, this is the general inclusion of the 10 Sfirot of each world, that is, Atik Yomin and Arich Anpin, Abba and Ima, Zer Anpin and Nukva of each of the 4 worlds of Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah and Asiyah. This continues until the aspect of action, Asiyah of Malchut, of the world of Asiyah. The end of everything is bound with the beginning of everything, for just as he emanated with Kadmon, desire, so too with this very same Kadmon he created, formed and made, as is written, everything that he desired he did, etc. Likewise, the emotions, that is, the 6 directions, are nullified to Hashem, as in, behold, the place is with me. For example, yours, Hashem, is the greatness, represents the sublimation of chesed in each world according to what it is. This continues upward until the aspect of his essential space. This is called his place, as in the saying of the sages, he is the place of the world, but the world is not his place. This is similar to the well-known adage, he grasps all worlds, but there are none who grasp him. Even the primal thought and desire cannot grasp him. From all this, the matter of the unification and connection of the particulars to the general principle by way of the totality of everything in the essential self of the infinite light, as it is drawn down into Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah and Asiyah, may be understood. This is because the aspect of the unity as it relates to each world in a way of particulars in regard to the 10 Sfirot of each world. Now, although a person may know the explanations for the entire chaining down of Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah and Asiyah, with all its specifics, he should nonetheless draw his soul to contemplate and unify the particulars to the general totality in the aforementioned manner until they are literally one with the essential self of the infinite light, or Ein Sof. This is aside from his contemplation in unifying and sublimating each particular world to the essential self. He should do this until his vast contemplation into the particulars of this matter become encapsulated in a wondrously brief summary. An example of this can be understood from the verse, Your kingdom is the kingdom of all worlds. This is the aspect of Malchut of Ein Sof, as it is invested within Malchut of Asiyah, as previously explained regarding the desire, wisdom and emotions. This is in accordance with the verse, See now that I am He, literally. Similarly, regarding the verse, I, Hashem, have not changed, I, Ani, which is the aspect of Malchut, is the same nothingness as Keter, since the beginning is bound up with the end. This is true both particularly in each particular world and in the general totality of everything. For this reason it states, I, Hashem, have not changed. That is, there is no difference whatsoever between Malchut of the infinite and Malchut of Asiyah. This then is the meaning of, Your kingdom is the kingdom of all worlds, i.e., even until Malchut of Asiyah. It is all because of the reason explained above. This will suffice for those of understanding.